At the starting of the week, at Summit Talks, you'll hear them speak. It's only Monday.
We're going to be installing or assembling this IAG 750. The assembly process will be the same for a 550, an 1150 essentially. Head gaskets and head studs are going to be different, but the assembly process for most EJs is going to be the same. So, to start out, we got our block here. It's basically out of the package. In the last video, I had installed the rear main seal and the case kit for the rear, so that way we could put it on the stand. Now we have it on the stand and out of the package. And first thing we're gonna do is take a clean rag, wipe out the cylinders, and we're gonna re-lube the cylinders. In this I have Multil break-in oil. While we are doing this, we're going to take our oil pump, and when you get these new, you should be taking the screws out and putting Loctite in and put it back in. At the same time as you do that, you could pre-prime your pump by putting Vaseline, is what a lot of people do. I don't like using the Vaseline in the pump, so what I actually do is put oil down this side. Doesn't take a lot. And then you could just spin this with your hands in reverse. So counterclockwise if you're looking at it backwards. If your hands are oily, you'll probably need a rag. And hold it upside down so that way the oil gets in there. This one does feel like it was lubed with Vaseline. It's a little tough to spin, but we're gonna make sure to pre-prime it regardless. So you keep doing this. I'm not gonna show it on video, but do this for about, I don't know, 60 seconds, a minute or so, and then just let it sit upside down. Your kit is gonna come with these engine dowels. Now it's important not to forget these. Forget your engine dowels. They go on the top side on both sides of the block. So if you're looking at the block, the top side is here. They go on the top. 2 on both sides. You should have a total of 4. Get a rubber mallet. You can kind of hear when they seat down to the bottom. Okay. We're going to get another clean rag. Some brake cleaner. Spray it on the rag. And we're just cleaning the the sealing surface off, making sure we don't have any oil or contaminants on it, making sure it's as clean as possible. Looks like we do have a small blemish there out of the box, but that'll be fine. Okay, we're going to drop these in. Now we're just gonna run these down to the bottom. You don't want to put much torque on these, you're just trying to run them down to the bottom. Sometimes if you're reusing a case and they're a little tough to get in, you can use a little bit of oil on the bottom. And we are using factory head gaskets. Head gasket, even though it's from the factory, we're still going to clean it off with brake cleaner. Okay, we have our head gasket here. This is the only part you want to pay attention to here. This is the oil port. Obviously these two down here. Now you're just going to match the oil port with the oil port on the block. They're pretty hard to mess up. People do it sometimes. It's understandable. They still go on if you flip them backwards. But if you're paying attention, you could see the two ports on the bottom and the port on the top, they all line up. Now that we got our studs in, we want to look down the middle of our studs. And you just want to make sure they're all level. That way you know they all seated down into the bottom correctly. Now this is going to be the driver side of the engine. So we are going to find the driver side cylinder head. Which is going to be this one. The one with the elbow on the bottom is the passenger side with the turbo. This is the driver side. We're going to clean up this surface with brake cleaner one more time to make sure everything is clean, doesn't have oil on it. And then we're going to set the head onto the block. Okay, now that we have our cylinder head on here, one thing I want to mention, I did it off camera already. Before you set your cylinder head in there, you want to clean these off with brake cleaner. You want to make sure all of your washer surfaces are clean and don't have any oil on them. That is very important for these ARP studs. You don't want any oil there, and you do not want to lube the bottom of the ARP washers. So we got our washers here. 5, 6. We're gonna clean our washers off one more time, both sides with brake cleaner. we're going to place our washers onto the studs. Okay, come back over here. Now I like to mix this around because sometimes it's watery from sitting in the packaging. So you have a tube like this. And now the proper way to do this is to take the nut, lube the bottom of the nut, and I put some inside so it catches on the threads. All you want lubed with this ARP lube is the bottom of this nut and in the threads. You do not want to lube the bottom of that washer. So we're going to do that to all 6 of these. You want to have ARP's instructions in front of you. That is the sequence we're going to go for the cylinder heads, and we're going to do 30, 60, and then 90. These are a 9/16 or a 14 mil 12-point socket for these head studs. And first, I'm going to tighten them just snug by hand. Now we're going to do 30 foot-pounds. What you don't want to do is use an extension, or use as small of an extension as possible. So 30. $60. Okay. And final torque is 90. We're kind of in the grass here, so, well, not kind of, we are in the grass. Okay. If you're doing this by yourself, it helps to kind of run over your foot with the engine stand. Now, I'll go back through and double check everything. You're just verifying everything's done. Maybe you got distracted that side. Right, so this side is done for now. We're going to switch over and do the other side. Now, flip this over. And we're going to repeat the same steps on this side. Put the pin back in. Don't slam it there if we're going to grip. Head gasket. Clean that. This part doesn't really matter if you do go over to the cylinder head. Now this is the turbo side cylinder head. And final port at 90. Go back and check. That's one to check. So you got to find the side. Have your little half moon. There's kind of no easy way about this. You kind of just gotta smash your finger. I made that look easy, but it's usually never that easy. Nice. Okay, we have that on there. Let's come back over to our oil pump. We're going to prime it some more, and then we're going to put the front main seal on it, put it on the block. We are going to get out our oil pump O-ring. Place that into the block. We're going to clean up our sealing surface here. We're going to add a dash of oil right here. This is where your front main slides in. So you want to lube it up so you don't fold that seal over. Okay. Now you're basically just going to take the front main and hit it in with a hammer flush. That's how I do it. Hit it in with a hammer flush, and we'll worry about it when we put it onto the I'm going to be using gray RTV, and we're going to seal up this pump. If you would like to know how the sealant is ran, that's how it is done. I just like to do it front side up. Now, you're going to want to move these. If you have your crank in the right position, this should be a 9 and 3. They should be straight across from each other. And then we are carefully going to place Now we're going to flip around and we're going to do the baffle, the pickup, and the oil pan. I like to take some oil because we're about to seal this up. I kind of just like to oil down the crank and the rods a little bit. Kind of just help it out as much as you can. You know, I might even take a little bit of assembly lube. Toss that on the rods. Okay, now we are installing a Killer Bee oil pump and pickup tube and baffle. Because we're installing the Killer Bee oil pan, we need to use this extension kit so that the pickup tube reaches further down into the pan. So first thing, you're going to want to make sure you have a new O-ring on this. And I'm going to set that on the block. baffle in there. Put our spacers down. Take our pickup. Now make sure oil pan. Now, IAG does make an oil pan, and I think their oil pan is better. It also has a O-ring in it, so you don't have to silicone it. But okay. Nice thin coating. That's all you want there. Okay. Now we're just going to gently put the pan down. Our lighting has seemed to have died on us. Okay, we'll be back in about 15 minutes. Okay, and that's about how much silicone swish you want. You don't want a shit ton coming out of there. Okay, now we got our oil pan on. We're gonna start putting our cylinder head together here. So first thing I like to do is lube everything up now that you've got it onto the block. If you lube everything beforehand, you'll be leaking oil into your head gasket. I like to oil down all the springs inside where all the buckets are gonna go. And I will use oil and assembly lube. Okay, what we are going to be doing now is we're going to go through and we are going to set our valve adjustment. Now, we're going to take a bucket. This is a long process, so I'm going to show you how I do one of them, and it is the same for all. So if you can see, there's a number inside that bucket. The number inside this one is 498. So what we're going to do is we're going to put our bucket in. We're going to take our cam. We're going to put our cam in. We're going to measure the lash. Okay, our bucket is in here. Our cam is in here. And now what we are looking for factory is on the intake side 6 to 11 thousandths. 6 fits. Now when you're doing this, push down on the cam. You could put the cap on and tighten it if you want. Pushing on the cam, it's going to give you relatively the correct. We're going to do 10 thousandths. 10 thousandths doesn't fit. Let's go on over to 8 thousandths. And now 8 thousandths barely fit. Now we're going to torque this down. We're going to torque this down and then check it just to verify. Now when you're doing valve lash adjustment, you want to do it with the head bolted to the block. You could kind of set it on the bench beforehand, it'll be close, but it'll always change when you put the head to the block. So that's 8 thousandths with a 498, and that's about perfect. So we're going to do the same for the rest of them. And the exhaust, you actually want to leave a little looser. I would say 8 thousandths to 12 thousandths is preferred on the exhaust. 6 thousandths to 11 thousandths preferred on the intake there. I'm going to go around, I'm going to do it for the rest of them, and then I'll get back in with you guys when I'm putting the cams and the can caps together. Okay, I've got all the valve lash set. I'm going to put the cams back in. Don't do that. Okay. Just to show you, this is 9 thousandths. So we have about 10 thousandths on all the exhaust, and we have about 9 thousandths on all the intake, except for one, which is 8 thousandths. So plenty good, within spec. Now we are going to clean up the cylinder head surface so we can place our cam caps down. We can put the rear caps on. Put assembly lube on your rear caps. Now there are numbers on these caps. This has a 3E on it. This is cylinder 3, and this is the exhaust side. This one has a 3I on it. And this is still cylinder 3. And the intake side. Now you want to make sure the arrows are also pointing forward. And now, if you get confused about the front cap, this side is always going to point up towards the intake. We're going to clean this off We're going to clean the cylinder head off, and then we are going to put our silicone on the cam cap. Okay, we got a very thin layer of RTV on there. Now these ones on the inside are going to get torqued to 14.7 foot-pounds. I'll get these hand tight, and then I can just make sure that the cams keep spinning along the way. You want to make sure your cams don't lock up on you, or it's a pain in the ass. 14.7. Okay, now we're going to do 7 on the front ones. After we got those all torqued down, I like to lube everything up really well. Especially on this cylinder head, because when you fill this up with oil the first time, the other cylinder head is going to be filled with oil, and this one won't receive oil until you prime it. Okay, now we're going to clean off the valve cover surface, and we're going to install the valve cover. This way, when we finish up with this, nothing could get inside the cylinder head here. Okay, we got our valve cover gasket on. Now you're going to put a dab of silicone right here, and right here, and along the top. I also bring a very thin layer back to this corner. That's just a personal preference. And I'll be right back. I gotta go get the valve cover. Okay, and that's it for this side cylinder head. Now we will move on to the driver's side. Okay. It's the next day. We ended out at 5:30 in the morning last night. Now we're gonna button together this side and get the valve cover on and seat it in. And then we will start working on everything else. So let's get this lubed up. Okay, these are the spark plugs we were going to be using. And you always want to inspect your spark plug, even brand new out of the box. I've seen them cracked before just from shipping or whatever the case may be. So you just want to check them, because you would hate to put these in and have to take them back out in the car. Not the end of the world, just something you don't want to deal with when you're trying to get your car going. Okay, we've got the engine flipped over. We're gonna put blue Loctite on this like it comes from the factory. And we're gonna seal this up. There's no washer on this, just either Loctite or TV. Your engine had run off and now it's for some reason.